All right. Uh, the World Juniors ended for all Carolina Hurricanes fans about 30 minutes ago. We were supposed to do this like a day ago, and we did it today. Honestly, it makes it a little bit better because it just ended, so we have a lot easier stuff to go off of. But in any case, welcome back to Developing Hurricanes, where I am still on my AirPod Pros because I am not home still, and my new microphone that I got, is on the table. So once again, I'm here with Matt, who is eating during the podcast because that's just something we do nowadays. We're big professionals here. How you doing, Matt?
Feeling a little called out. I'm doing great otherwise. Yeah, it's been. Uh, uh, Next week will be my first week back working for a full week after two back-to-back holiday weeks. So that is not going to be very fun. But I am here. I am ready to go. Yeah.
I'm driving back to school tomorrow, second semester. So it doesn't start for another week. I just need to go back a week early. So
Oh, that's
yeah.
not bad.
Yeah. So obviously the World Juniors just ended. Well, we're going to go through everybody here. We're going to start with the most disappointing team at the tournament, bar none, Team Canada. And, Bradley Nadeau, I liked a lot. I liked a good amount of what I saw. But the way he was used was very evidently weird. And I think everybody on social media kind of saw that. He had two goals, and his two goals came one on just, he finally got to his spot and he was allowed to just let the thing go, which is what he's best at. And the other one was a net front goal, which was very weird, and not weird, but he doesn't normally do that for Chicago. He's obviously one of their best shooters, so he's kind of just pushed to the perimeter a lot more. So seeing him have to do that was definitely interesting. But I didn't think he had a bad tournament. I just think Canada as a whole had a abhorrent time. What do you think, Matt?
Canada was just really bad. There's always a worry with these super teams, as we tend to call them, which you can't really say that about under 20 hockey. But, let's be honest, the way Canada was being hyped up before the tournament, all the pundits were like, oh my God, Canada's going to run away with it this year. They're going to be incredible. It's Canada's tournament to lose. And, you look at the roster and on paper, yeah, they shouldn't be losing to the teams they've lost to. They should not be losing to Latvia.
Yeah.
But you look at the way things were handled from a management perspective, leaving certain players home. From a coaching perspective, using Bradley Nadeau not as the shooter on the power play, the guy whose biggest and best trait is how good his shot is. There's some baffling decisions where you decide to not play your team, you not practice your team, oh, it's a grueling schedule. No, it isn't. It's not. Junior teams play 3-3s. You're not being asked to do that in this tournament. Get out of here with that. Practice your team.
Yeah.
The issue, there's just a whole lack of accountability. You don't give the team, who very clearly was lacking chemistry and lacking, the confidence of playing one another, you don't give them more opportunities to practice together and play together. It makes no sense to me. I did find it funny that, after Canada loses to Latvia, all the media is like, well, if you looked at the roster, I mean, this shouldn't come as a surprise. And I'm like, no, you guys were the same people that were hyping Canada up the whole time. I understand that's your job, but it's just some baffling decisions were made top to bottom from this. And, Bradley Nadeau got a lot of flack for being, oh, why is he on the roster? He's playing pro hockey and doing really well at it, as a 19-year-old.
Yeah, that was
should they have maybe brought Zane Parekh and Beckett Seneca and Michael Nisa? Maybe. But, I still think even if they brought those players, this is a pretty underwhelming Canada team.
Yeah, my whole thing with that was a lot of just the practice thing was the one that caught me off guard the most because you're supposed to practice. And then you see your biggest nations, your biggest arch rival when you're talking about countries in the US, and David Carl has that team practicing almost every day. And you're wondering why your team doesn't look good with each other. And you're wondering about all these other things. And I didn't see a lot of Bradley Nadeau hate, actually. I saw a lot of people saying Nadeau was a good decision because obviously he's playing pro hockey. He's playing very good against competition. We'll talk about it later, but he scored yesterday and his first game back, and he looks good in the past two games, today and yesterday. Um, no, Canada just as a whole had probably the worst tournament you could ever imagine as the team that was projected to win it all. So, you know, I'm happy Nadeau got a chance to play for his country. I thought he played pretty well, all things considered. He started killing penalties, which again is a testament to his development this year with Chicago. But as a whole, Canada just stunk.
And I think, this year the loss is harder for Canada. Because it's not like you can say, like, oh crap, like, we played really well, we just got unlucky. Like last year. Last year, I think I forget who they lost to in the quarterfinals. It might have been the Czechs. Again.
Yeah, it was. It was the Czechs twice.
But like at least then you can say, like, man, we got beat by a good team. You cannot say this year that, like, well, we did really well. We just lost to a good team. No, you didn't. And so that's harder. This is the second year in a row. For the first time ever, it's back-to-back years Canada's losing in the quarterfinals. And what sucks is it was on their home ice both times, which is another opinion that I have. Real quick.
Oh, joy.
If you want to grow the game, have the tournament in other countries. Like, Canada should not be getting back-to-back World Juniors and then having the 2027 one in Edmonton or Calgary or wherever in Alberta it's going to be. There's 1 year in between, which I think is next year in St. Louis, when it's in a different country other than Canada. So 3 out of 4 years it's going to be in Canada. That is stupid.
Wasn't it in Gothenburg last year, though? Wasn't it in Sweden last year? I thought it was.
I thought it was in the Maritimes.
2020. What year was this year? Was it 24 or 25? I guess 20. Yeah.
I need to.
Where were you?
World Juniors host.
It was Gothenburg.
There was one in Sweden. I don't remember if it was.
It was last year. Yeah.
Okay, so last year was in Sweden. Excuse me, but the previous 3 years before that, were in Canada.
Yeah, that's I'm guessing it was just because you can do it in Canada, and it was coming out of COVID, so you're trying to do that. But definitely going forward, you should have like Czechia, especially after the last few tournaments they have, they should definitely host. Sweden should get the host again because they had unreal atmosphere, and you should go to these other countries and have them host. You can't let Canada be hosting every other year. That just defeats the point.
Well, and the biggest critique I think that people had about the ones in Halifax and Moncton in 2023 was that nobody showed up to the games that Canada or the US were in. So if it was like Kazakhstan versus Latvia, nobody would be there.
Yeah.
Whereas, and this is probably going to be the case for Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minnesota as well. I said St. Louis. That was not right. That's in
I was
Minnesota.
going to say it was Minnesota the whole time because I'm trying to figure out if I can go next year, but
yeah. But like, I guess just my point is, like, if you want to grow the game, if you want to like make these tournaments more exciting and more fun, like, first of all, this was actually a really fun World Juniors because most of the teams were good.
Yeah.
And then, have it be where people are going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I think that's a big one. Because Gothenburg last year, everybody loved it because the atmosphere at those games was awesome. It didn't matter who was playing. It was really good. That took 10 minutes to go over Canada. So already off to a raging start on that one. And then so the Hurricanes only had two other prospects play at this tournament. They both played for Sweden, so we can kind of knock this out 2-for-1. We'll go Oscar Voulet first, just because he might be a little bit easier to talk about. Um, it was kind of weird in my opinion because during the build up at like Five Nations and then in the prelim games, he was used as a top six winger and he was used on the power play. But the minute the game started, he immediately got sent to the bottom six and taken off the power play and given 4 minutes a night, which again, I don't know the intricacies and the ins and out of all these international organizations and how they're run. It just seems weird to me that you gave the guy that time and then scaled him back. And maybe that was just because Anton Wahlberg was with Rochester. Yeah, I think he's AHL. So maybe he was just late coming to camp, but it was just weird to see that. He did score in a game against, I want to say it was Kazakhstan, where it was a lot to a little. He didn't look bad. He was never outstanding. He just was kind of a Sweden forward. I didn't hate his game, but he just didn't play a lot. So it was kind of just a mixed bag.
I didn't love his play. I thought that away from the puck, you didn't really notice him. He didn't really make a ton of great plays with the puck. He didn't play a whole lot, but you watch him play in Sweden's first game, and I forget who they played in their first game on the 26th.
It was Slovakia.
Okay, watch him play against the Slovaks, and this is when he was on, I think, either the second or third line. He just did not have a good game. He wasn't setting up any chances. I think he made like one. I think he even had a takeaway or something that was nice, but overall, it's nothing to write home about. I mean, this is a player that he's 18. I didn't expect a ton from him at this tournament. He might be 19. He might be a late birthday.
Want to say he's 19. Let me go to the Elite Prospects app, the mobile app,
Okay,
and check it
yeah.
out.
Shout out branding, sponsor us.
Please.
Yeah. Okay. Even if
19, yes.
even if he is 19, the point is like he's 6 months removed from being drafted. So that's not a whole lot of time. His playing time in Sweden has been very inconsistent this year. I think it's a very inconsequential tournament from him, but these tournaments don't make or break prospects.
It's
They
a
don't.
good way to get eyes on guys you might not see a whole lot, which obviously is helpful for everybody. And it's a very good way for like the common fan to see young guys that could play for your team in the future. And obviously that's going to be the case with the next guy we speak of. But yeah, Voulet was
Yeah.
I think he might average like 4 minutes a game in this tournament. It might have been very low. So
Yeah, it wasn't a lot. I mean, the example I give of like this tournament does not determine NHL players is Seth Jarvis was never on the World Juniors team.
yeah, and now he'll play for the Four Nations Canada roster. So
Yep.
all right, now we get the big one. We're at the 14-minute mark. We're going to see how long this takes us to talk about. I jokingly made a thing saying this might just be a 50-minute long love fest of the guy who probably had the best tournament out of a lot of players, easily the best tournament out of any Canes guys, Felix Unger-Sorum. Right before the tournament, I had wrote an article trying to get the word out about the guys playing in the World Juniors and kind of what to expect. And in that, I said Felix is going to be called upon to be one of Sweden's best players, being as he's a returning guy. He has chemistry with people he had played with on his line. And I thought he was probably going to be a top point producer. Going into the gold medal game that is happening now, he's tied for first in points. He has 10 in 7 games. He has the assist lead by 2 assists on Consta Hellenius. Felix has genuinely had an insane tournament. there were not many games where he was just kind of okay. A lot of the times he was one of Sweden's best forwards. He was one of Sweden's best players, and there was a lot of times where he was just their best forward on the ice. His playmaking and vision is unbelievable. There, he just makes plays with the puck that not a lot of guys can do. His skating is vastly improved from what I've seen. He was taking contact with the puck and just letting it go, and he was just getting around everybody. Felix had a tournament that I can only be described as very, very good. He was just downright awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed watching him play for Sweden, and I'm not kind of upset. I'm very upset that they didn't win bronze, but Felix was awesome. What do you have to say, Matt?
I thought that Felix was as advertised, which is good. You want him to show out. He's one of the few players on that team playing pro hockey. You want him to be the best player on the ice, and he was. He was awesome. Um, you know, I think for a player that had like a minor role on last year's team to being one of the top players in the tournament, I think that's really telling. Um, his playmaking stood out. I mean, he was able to get primary assists. He was able to be, a play driver. He showed a lot of strength on the puck. A lot of it's due to the conditioning of the AHL level. I think that's already starting to show in his game. He still needs to eat a sandwich. He is like a solid 180 pounds, if that.
Give him the medium alone.
Right. He needs to just be on like my diet and he'll be fine. Um, but anyways, I think that Felix looked. I would like to see him shoot more still. I think he passed up on a few opportunities to shoot, but I think the playmaking ability, the hockey sense, and the skating is all there. I mean, he's going to be a really good player. He just needs to take the next step, and the next step for him is going to be, improving the shooting and getting a little bit stronger so that he can win those puck battles at the next level.
Oh
I think he's going
yeah.
to come back to Chicago and be awesome.
That was, yeah, I thought going into this tournament, he was probably going to the wing specifically was going to just give him confidence because obviously you're trying to learn a new position and you're trying to learn a new position in an entirely new system in an entirely new country that you might be unfamiliar with. And he has been fine. Like he's looked good at times. In their last game, Chicago's last game before Felix left, he looked really good in a game against Texas, where he had a goal and an assist, and he just looked very good. Again, AHL, please, for the love of God, release ice time and faceoff stats. Please let them out to the public. You cannot keep hiding them, please. It hurts. Um, but yeah, he's been fun. Like he's been getting better as the season has gone on, and I think it's just him getting smarter while also praying to God, gaining a little bit of weight. Um, the number one question that I got asked during this tournament was, has he been playing center? When he goes back to Chicago, will he play center? And it, well, one, I have no idea. I'm not a science, like I'm not a prediction guy. I don't have any sort of information that would lead me anywhere, but I would assume the organization sees the guy as a center still. So he'll probably go back to the center, and realistically, he's probably going to look really good. He'll probably take what he had against guys around his age and start to apply it more against guys that are older than him, more experienced. And again, he'll probably look really good when he gets back to Chicago and they go to Coachella Valley next week. So very interested in that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think Felix, regardless of whether or not he sticks at center, having those habits is a good thing for his game. As a center in the NHL, you're relied upon to be much better defensively, and you're relied upon to be a lot better. You're relied upon to be a lot more physical, a lot more, involved in the play. There's some net front that you have to have. Whereas as a winger, you can kind of lean to the perimeter, but the center has to be towards the middle of the ice. And if you get Felix to be consistently in the middle of the ice, we see what happens when Nate just gets to the middle of the ice, right? He's a guy that likes to play on the perimeter, but when he gets to the middle, he's unbeatable, right?
Yeah,
If Felix can be that type of player and be a distributor or a shooter from that, the middle of the ice, we're golden.
yeah. One of the big things, and I noted it on the prospect account, was when Sweden was on the power play, he was the entry guy, and he made it look easy every single time. And I made the direct comparison to Natchez because I see him. Like I'll watch the Canes from time to time, and I'll watch Natchez bringing in the zone on the power play with relative ease, with speed, with deception, with whatever. And then you watch Felix do it, and you're like, well, he's doing it with speed from time to time. He's doing it with just taking contact and still getting it in, and he's doing it in these ways, and you're like, dang, that's kind of cool. And you can see the direct parallels between the two guys.
I think Natchez has more of the high end skill. Felix has the high end hockey sense.
Yeah.
When Natchez wants to be, he's one of the smartest players in the league. However, I don't even think it's that he. Let me say that it's not that he doesn't want to be the best player on the ice. I think that he can cheat the game a little bit, a lot of bit. And so he tries to take shortcuts or tries to be too fancy with it. 9 times out of 10, that's ending up on the opponent's stick.
Hmm.
So that's my concern with
Yeah.
that. But so Felix, I think, may not have like the 70-point upside, that Natchez has, but if you can get a reliable, like, I see more of like a Taylor Teravainen type in him.
Yeah, I've heard that comparison multiple times over the past few days. I've also heard Gavin,
Was it
somebody
Jesper
commented that
Foss today on the
that
broadcast?
dude, I was just watching along, and they're like, Carolina lost what Jesper Foss, and Felix kind of has some of those Jesper Foss qualities, and I did do a double take like Jesper Foss
Jesper Foss qualities, and then he's a sub 6 foot Swede.
who plays the exact opposite way of how Jesper Foss played. So
I mean, they both work really hard. Felix is just better.
I was about to say, did Jesper Foss ever have the skill that Felix has? Like, I mean, it was just a wild
I don't
comparison.
know, Jesper Foss. Jesus. Hold on. Sorry, I took a drink of water and tried speaking.
Oh my
Jesper
God.
Foss has played in. I'm trying to quickly look this up. So we talk about it, but Jesper Foss has played in 700 NHL games.
Ooh, pretty good.
So like
Complaining
that
about
is a good career.
I mean, I would hope Felix plays in 700 career NHL games. I think he can. He just has to get to that point first. Yeah. So I thought the World Juniors was a very mixed bag. I thought Nadeau looked really good for Canada at when he played in the right spots. I thought Voulet was and I thought Felix was probably one of the best players at the tournament. So,
Agreed.
I mean, can't really complain about that. Last year Felix was really good for Sweden, and Bondrus won Czechia bronze. So you're always hoping to keep going in the right direction. So I really want Russia back. I think I need to make that well known everywhere. I need Russia back in the tournament very bad.
Yeah, we would have a lot more. You would be, your
Dude,
phone would have to be on do not disturb.
my phone would be about to explode 90% of the time because there would be, I mean, you would have had Artemona. I mean, just thinking this year, because I've seen a few of them, it would have at least been like Artemonov was a shoe in, and then you could have had, Mukanov, you could have had Krutov, you could have had Avramov, you could have had Cole, you could have had Chakrin, and there's probably one more I'm missing just because there's so many of them.
Well, you have to think if no, the only kid's older than 20. Never mind.
He
I was gonna
is
say if Belarus was
21.
able.
He's 21, yeah.
Yeah, I
And
was gonna say, but if
he's
Belarus was able,
the World Juniors was very nice, but now we'll send Goulet back to Skellefteå. I can never pronounce Sweden names because
sure.
I'm not. They're tough to me. Boulay will go back to the SHL, and Nadeau and Ungersorm will go back to the Chicago Wolves, who have continued to be almost really, well, not almost really good, but they have been really good, even sans two top six players. The guy who has really turned it on over the last month easily has been Justin Robitaille, and that kid has been awesome. He's on a 7 game point streak currently because he extended it today. I love watching him play because he's just one of those guys you love watching because he does everything at a real he's an effort guy. He's one of those like awesome effort guys that everybody loves to see in your bottom six because it doesn't matter where the puck is and it doesn't matter where he plays in the lineup. When his feet touch the ice, he's going 110 until he's off the ice, and he plays in all situations. And in an interview he did with I want to say it was Billy Gardner, he said he takes pride in playing in every situation. It's one of those things that he loves to do, and he's very happy that he gets to do it. Justin Robitaille is sick. I love him.
I love Justin Robitaille. I've loved him since we drafted him. This is a player that has just a lot of. He's one of those guys where I hate it when people bring up Martin Saint Louis to describe like the work ethic of a smaller player, because like he's the guy that did it, right? He's the guy that being the smaller player in the league, had the high end work ethic and all that. But like Robitaille truly works every shift. He's one of the very few skaters in the system that I would say has elite top speed. He's got a great shot. That's been well documented. He has an incredible shot. I'd say his playmaking has definitely taken a pretty big step since turning pro. And he's got a decent amount of hockey sense. This is a kid that I think it's going to be very difficult for him to carve out an NHL career, just because I think like given the system that he's in, he's just going to have to work that much harder. But I don't doubt that he could do it. Like, look at how he's playing right now. He's playing like a man possessed in the AHL. He's playing really well. So I think that it's entirely possible that we could be sitting here, this time next year talking about Justin Robitaille playing in his first NHL game or something.
Yeah. Well, first up, bold of you to assume that I can keep a podcast going for more than a year, buddy. That's the first part.
Well,
but
you'll
no,
learn.
yeah, Robitaille, he's been asked to play center and wing for Abbott in top six, top nine roles, and he does it. And he's been very good at winning faceoffs too. I think it's another aspect of it that I guess I don't. I don't really know what else to describe it. I just love watching Justin Robitaille. He's just awesome. I think he's very fun. He's been a big reason why, and he has started to develop some natural chemistry with a prospect that not a lot of people talk about, mainly because for the past 2 years he's been injured. But Noel Gunler, however you pronounce his last name, I'm pretty sure it's Gunler. Everybody says it's Gunler. He has slowly turned it on this season. Like he's had streaks of like 3 or 4 game like goal streaks or point streaks, and he's looked really good. He had a goal today that I'm shocked beat the goalie because he gathered it. He gathered a rolling puck and put it over the goalie's strong side, like glove side corner, and I was like, whoa. His shot is something that the Wolves like a lot. I can kind of tell. He gets uh, one of the board spots on the power play, and he kind of just has the green light to shoot. I've liked a lot of what I've seen from Gumler over the past month or so. He's been in a slightly more elevated role, obviously, with Nadeau and Ungersorm out, but he's held his role very well. I'm pretty interested about his development over the past month.
Yeah. Last thing about Justin Robitaille is he's currently 11th in under 22 scoring in the AHL. And most of the guys ahead of him were drafted a lot higher than he was. Like by my count, you've got Frank Nazar, Matthew Savoy. Those were 2 first-round picks.
Hmm.
Denton Matejchuk, first round pick. Billy Koivunen and Kadel Baluz, I believe, were second round picks. Isaac Rosen might have been a first round pick. So like this is a kid that was drafted in the fifth round. Like he's doing just fine. I think
Yeah.
we should be very happy with how he's progressed, considering he spent all of last year in the ECHL, I believe.
He spent up until in that same interview he did. He spent about up until January, and then he got hurt and had to have surgery and was out for the rest of the year.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I remember because remember talking with you last year. Like, dude, where's Robida? He's been like really good for Norfolk, and we both were like, yeah, we have no idea because ECHL and AHL teams don't like to give out injury information, which is very annoying.
Yeah.
So, yeah, do you have anything to say about Gunler? I mean,
With Gumler, I think he's playing well. The question is, it's just can he be consistent enough? And he hasn't shown us that yet.
he tied his career high in AHL goals today.
Shit, really?
Yeah, it was
Don't put that cuss word and that filthy language in there. Hold on.
yeah, it was his ninth goal today, and I'm pretty sure that tied his career high from a year ago, 2 years ago. Yeah, last year he was with
No, he broke his
multiple.
goal. He's about to break his point. See, the thing is like yes, he scored more goals this year, but he's about as much point per game as he was last year or 2 years ago.
Just means he's being trusted to use his shot more. Met, come on.
Yeah, I think he's putting himself in better opportunities to score too. I think it's kind of weird. Chicago doesn't have like a whole lot of fantastic veterans, and a lot of the veterans are up with the Canes. So or hurt.
Yeah, it's
So like maybe his playmaking has really grown. I haven't seen that as much from him, but maybe he's just not been put in as many positions to score just because he's had to play more of a veteran role.
I mean, yeah, it is kind of. I wrote the Chicago, like the young Chicago Wolves are like starting to like really do good, and it like splitting up the power play units and putting vet unit and then putting Ryan Suzuki, Noel Gumler, Skylar Brindamore, and Dominic Fensore in that veteran group physically pained me to do. But like this is Fensore's second year in the AHL. This is Gunler's second year in the AHL. This is Suzuki's. We just talked about this like fifth, so fourth, fifth, or something like that. Yeah, I do want to talk about Suzuki though, even though uh, I do just want to talk about him. He was very, very good in the month of December, and it was pretty cool. I thought he was really good. He went on a very long point streak and was probably one of the Wolves' best players up there with Yaska. Um, he does it all. There's not much more I can say about Suzuki because we've kind of said it over the past however many times we've done this show, where Suzuki is doing really, really well, but we can't keep describing him in the ways that we do because we've said it already. But Suzuki's had a very good December. I almost said November. We are not there anymore, are we?
Yeah, Suzuki will hopefully get his shot. I think he's playing really well. I just think we need to have, a discussion about. Eventually, I think the Canes need to have a discussion about, the types of people they want playing up with them. Shout out to Juha Jaska playing, in his first and now, as we were recording
Second.
this second NHL game.
Yeah. Oh, they're
Um,
winning. What?
they are winning.
Oh,
They have come back from a horrible first period to be up 3-2 against Pittsburgh.
well, it's
Uh,
Pittsburgh.
so I think with Yaska, um, I don't have a whole lot to say about his NHL debut. I thought he was there. Um, I hate to say it because like that sounds really mean, but like he just didn't make an impact. And I haven't been able to watch. We've been recording this, and I just didn't want to watch the after last night. Last night left a sour taste in my mouth, so I have not watched the Canes game. So yeah. Um, Shout out Yu Hayaska, but I still hope Suzuki gets his chance.
Yeah, I think that's why. Well, first up, I don't really watch that much Canes hockey at this point, anyways, just because of the nature of prospect hockey, where there's a lot of stuff going on at all times of the day. But yeah, Yaska was fine. He's a big energy guy. He was really good for the Wolves over the past like month of December, and he was what he was advertised in the NHL. He was a big energy guy. Yeah, uh, I think at some point Suzuki has to make his NHL debut. I think he has shown like the end of last year to now, his growth has been he's like where you want skill wise to be an NHL guy. He's killing penalties. He's driving play on his line. He's doing everything you want. At some point, you got to give him a chance. I feel as if because he's doing everything you want, you got to reward the kid. I do know though that he is waiver eligible, so that might be a stopping reason why. Just because he plays a game, they get healthy, you got to send him through waivers, or you just risk using him in the press box. So you know, I want to see him make his debut. I really do. I hope it happens.
Yeah, I think it does have to do with waivers. I think he's at that kind of purgatory where he's earned a call up, but he's also been deemed too valuable to lose on waivers if the team wants to send him down, which is just a really shitty play. Crap. Which that's not a great place to be in. It's tough. So I feel for the guy, but
Yeah. I think at this point we all want to see him do it. Like everybody, a lot of people that comment on the prospect account want to see it happen. We both want to see it happen. We know a lot of people who want to see it happen. My dad, who stays off social media, wants to see it happen. Everybody wants to see it. We all
all
hope
right.
it happens. Just don't know when. We are
Well,
going to stop
Nick,
there though because
before we go,
oh
because I do have to wrap up here in just a sec. I do want to wish you a very merry Nikishin signing year.
oh yeah, I kind
This
of
is the
forgot.
first recording of 2025,
Yes,
and
it is.
as you and I both know, Nick, I'll let you know what
Um,
I'll let you say it.
you
What can
know,
happen in 2025, Nick?
I really wish I had more people behind me so I could really recreate the image in its whole
Oh,
totality.
I will do my best.
Yeah, as Eric Tolsky told a lot of people that were watching the Hurricanes game whenever that was, and as Walt Ruff, the kind human being that he is, told everyone, they plan on signing Mr. Alexander Nikishin to a contract when his KHL season ends at the end of the KHL season. And I know people saw March 20th, whatever it was. That's not the case. They still have to play in the playoffs, and SKA is playing really good because their head coach finally, and I truly mean finally, decided to play the 18, 19-year-old kid who's really, really good in the top end of their lineup.
Correct. Yes, that I've heard that will help. But yes, so I just wanted to wish you a very merry Nikishin signing year. I am going to go help pick up groceries, but
All right, we are going to
thanks
pick this
everybody.
up hopefully at a later date. If not, this will be a nice 40, and we'll do it at some point. Thank you, Matt.
All right. We actually did make it to a second part of this. We did 40 minutes a few days ago, and a lot has happened in the past 3 days since we recorded last. So now we are back. I'm with Matt again. I'm on a crispier camera and a crispier microphone because I'm finally back in my college apartment where I go to school in a disclosed area in North Carolina. So We left off talking about, since it's 2025, it's Alexander Nikishin year, and you will never believe it, but he has decided to become God himself in 2025. Today, I don't know if they're actually going to credit him with a hat trick, but he should definitely have been credited with a hat trick today. He was awesome. He played 27 minutes and he did everything right. He was a +3 in a game where 9 goals were scored. But of course, a teammate takes a penalty with 30 seconds left, and they lose to Nikita Gusev. So that's just a awesome time. But yeah, Nikishin is awesome. He was very awesome today. He is very, very good, and I'm very happy to see a lot more people start to recognize just how really, really good he is out of the broader scope of Canes fans who already know that, because somebody made a mention on the broadcast recently that they're going to try and sign him, and then Matt, of course, likes to. Matt's number one Nikishin guy. I'm number two, but he was a very big proponent of getting that out there. So yeah, it was really good today. I don't know if you saw any of it, Matt, but he was really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the highlights that you posted. I was not awake for this game. I'll be honest.
You think I was?
Well, I mean, what time did it start? Like, I saw you post about it.
9 a.m. I was
Oh
slightly
yeah, I
late to
was
the
awake
party.
for like maybe the third period. Listen, the snow was hitting. I all like maybe quarter of an inch we got here. But it was nice to just sleep in this morning, not have to go anywhere, and I will say none of it's really surprising to me. I mean, we've all known that Nikishin can shoot. He's now just being put in opportunities where he can shoot the puck again. And to the shock of nobody except for maybe Roman Rotenberg, this is working.
Hey, that's a hockey genius right there. We can't discredit him at all.
Brain genius Roman Rotenberg.
Yeah, he's really good. He was very good today, and he'll probably be very good up until the playoffs, and he'll probably start getting a lot more ice time even in the playoffs, which is kind of terrifying, seeing as he's averaged over 20. I want to say he's probably at 25 minutes average on the year per game, which is a hefty number. But he's a 23-year-old captain. What else are you going to do about it? Also, that happened today, even though it happened technically a few days ago, but this game started at 6 a.m. Andrei Krutov, the 7th round pick of this last draft, he made his KHL debut last game for Torpedo with Nikita Artemonov out, and he played okay. He had 5 shots on goal in 11 minutes, which, you know your role and you're going to do it. So 5 shots on goal in 11 minutes, sure, that's awesome. And Artemonov came back today and played, and they kept Krutov in the lineup, and he rewarded it. He got his KHL goal, his first career KHL goal today, on a rebound attempt that he was just in front of the net and nobody was covering him. It's kind of interesting. I had a little bit about it on my personal account, but Artemonov hadn't made his VHL debut until this year and is over a half point per game player. And then he makes his KHL debut, and now he has a goal in his first 2 games, which I think is just awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's what was he, like 220th overall? So it's one of the last picks in the draft.
You nailed
and he's
it.
making his KHL debut and scoring. Like that's huge for the Hurricanes. I mean, obviously, when you draft a lot of Russians, there's going to be a lot of unknowns, just because of how volatile those leagues are and how wonderful they are at playing their young talent. But it's a good thing, right? You're getting players experience at the highest level, even if he goes back to the VHL. That's valuable development time, and that's what you want to see, regardless of whether or not he's signing in 2 years from now, 3 years from now, whatever it is. Like, that time is going to be valuable for us.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I mean, in any case, a 7th round pick in his draft year +1, getting a KHL debut and scoring after only making his VHL debut the same season. He has only played MHL hockey until then. That's just cool. I mean, that's awesome stuff. He's obviously made good strides in his development, and he obviously is a shooter, which I kind of I didn't really see that entirely. I knew he did shoot the puck a lot, but he's done it a lot more this year, seeing it, and he's becoming a lot more of a natural goal scorer than just his hands, which were the big part of his game. But now that you have the extra element of his shot coming into full, that his shot's just getting a lot better, and he's using it a lot more. And the coaches are fine with it because he has a green light, obviously. So I just think that's really cool for him to get up the ladder, and now he's scored in the KHL, which is sick.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I remember when he was drafted, this was somebody that, you know, was mostly touted for his shot, his ability to score goals. And, you know, kind of looking at his page, I mean, at the MHL this season, he's got 5 goals in 8 games. VHL 12 goals in 30 games, and then obviously a goal in 2 KHL games. So, you know, he's definitely a goal scorer. He's definitely somebody that, you know, can shoot the puck. I think I liked to see his goal today because he was able to spin off of a defender and find a weak point in the defensive coverage. You know, that was a really high end play. So I'd like to see more of that from him.
Oh yeah. I've caught a few Torpedo Gorky games to watch him and noted point getter of December, Alexander Pelovin, 6 points in 9 games. So all that talk about Pelovin being boring, yeah, buddy. He's been really good. He's mainly been like he has the ability to play on both wings, which has been a very big boost for Torpedo, and he's played in a mostly top 6 role, and he's just found a really good groove, obviously, now. So, and the Torpedo organization obviously sees something in him to give him a call up at 18. And obviously now they didn't take him out when Artemonov came back today, and he scored. And I think it's just really cool for him. And it was nice to see a lot of proud. It was nice to see Oleg hype him up a lot. I always
Right.
enjoy. I mean, he's proud of all his Russian guys, so I'm always happy to see that. Hopping countries, some Swedish D-men are making a lot of noise recently. First up, Prashanth Iyer put out an article talking about Axel Sandin Pelika, and I got intrigued because it had the goals above replacement as a chart, and 2024 Simon Forsmark was like one of the best U20 seasons of all time. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. So Simon Forsmark now in his past 2 games has, I think, 4 primary assists in his last 2 games, which, I mean, you're going to double check, but because I remember he had 2 primaries in the 3 assist game, but they took his secondary away. And then this game today, he had 2 primaries. Forsmark is a guy that I don't think a lot of people look at a ton just because I don't know it might just be me who hasn't really talked about him a lot, but Forsmark is a really interesting player. He has good size, he has good skating, and offensively he's pretty good. With Timra, he's kind of fluctuated from top pairing, like he's been all over the place, and now he's third pairing on the right side, which is really weird, but he's shown his ability to play there, and I think it's really good for him. Forsmark has done a lot of good things recently, and I think he's 1 point off tying his total from last year where he was really, really good. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, for a player that has been as consistent as he has been, you know, I mean, I'm looking at his draft year, 41 games in the SHL. You know, the year after that was kind of a bit of a weird year for him. He only played 11 games in the SHL, but for the past 2 years, he's been consistently a very good, reliable two-way defenseman. You know, he's got the skating, he's got the hockey sense, he plays a responsible two-way game. He's not going to take a whole lot of penalties. I mean, he's only taken, looks like 5 penalties this year. I mean, that's really respectable. You know, the big questions with Forsmark is the offense, right? You know, like, obviously we know he can defend at a decent level, but can he be more than just a third pairing guy? I mean, you know, the comp that I give to him is like he's a taller and probably just better overall Jesper Sellgren, because, you know, Sellgren was great like as a defender in the minors in the AHL. He defended really well. He got in on the rushes. He just didn't have any elite traits other than the skating. And Forsmark, I think, processes the game a little better. He's a lot more physical. He's bigger, and I think that could translate to an NHL role somewhere down the line, depending on how the rest of his pro development goes.
Yeah, I gotcha. Is Forsmark was the one who said he was close to signing this recently. I remember.
Yeah, Forsmark's season ends his contract ends at the end of the year.
Next year.
It ends at the end of next year.
Yeah.
But it looks like Carolina's going to want to sign him.
Yeah, I remember.
He can obviously return to Sweden, though, so that might be what happens. But it looks like, at least for the time being, that he's pretty close to signing.
Yeah, I remember he came out sometime this off season and said that he was, or like recently he said he was close to signing a contract, and then it just never materialized. But I mean, I think it'd be cool to see Simon Forsmark sign a contract. I mean, he obviously has some skill to him, but I also think if he does, he'll probably just stay in Sweden for another year, just like incredible segue on my end. Just like another Hurricanes Swedish defenseman who got signed this past offseason and has stayed in Sweden, and another 7th round pick that seems to be paying off a little bit at least, Joel Nystrom. He's a very, very smooth skater, and I kind of like that about his game. It allows him to play a very good role with Farjestad. He's kind of been fluctuating top pair, second pair, right-handed guy. He's been pretty good this year. He had 2 primary assists today. He and Simon Forsmark both actually have exactly 18 points on the year. The thing about Nystrom is that most of the time you're just not gonna hear about him, just because his role with Farjestad has not really been a big primary role, even though he does play on the power play. I think it's the second unit because they have a different other guy, but I've liked a lot of what Farjestad has done with him, and it's obvious the Canes really like what Farjestad has done because I think if he stays healthy this year, he'll be really close to playing 200 SHL games by the time he is 23, which is definitely something you don't see a lot. I mean, maybe you do. I don't know. I think Joel Nystrom's kind of fun.
Yeah, he's at 203 SHL games right now.
Do I not know how to count? Oh, I don't know how to count. That's tough on my end.
Going back to Forsmark real quick, just the comment that I want to make is I don't think teams can sign players to entry level contracts that begin the next year. Until March.
Oh, well.
So that is probably why he hasn't signed yet. There's I don't remember the exact date it is, but I just remember in March there is a day that period opens up for teams to be able to sign players to entry level contracts that begin the following year.
I think it's the 15th, but don't quote me on that.
It's somewhere around then, because it's also around the time when I think the trade deadline is done. So there's nothing for the analysts to talk about. So that's when we get like college free agency season. So anyways, I just wanted to get that out there. That way people know, like, that way people don't blow up at the Hurricanes being like, why didn't you sign Forsmark yet? Why didn't you sign Forsmark yet? Same with Nikishin. Although Nikishin's contract will more than likely start this year. They'll probably, as a negotiation tactic, burn a year of his entry-level deal right away.
Well, that's going to create some fun little interesting things because of his age. He can only sign a 2-year. You burn a year immediately, and he's already on. He's going to have the rookie campaign and then contract.
That's what I'm saying, though. You get him on the rookie deal for 1 year, and then you pay him immediately. That's the way you're going to have to do it.
Straight into an 8-year contract. We can make it happen.
Immediately 8 years. I would pass away. So anyways, going to Nystrom now. Nystrom is arguably our best skating defensive prospect.
I'd say it's a toss up between him and Heimo Salmi.
Yeah, and Nystrom uses his skating in better ways than Himasalmi does, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That was not the case when they were drafted. I think they were drafted the same year.
21.
Yep.
So, what?
So kind of funny with that is, like Nystrom is obviously somebody that, I feel like has just consistently been on an upward trend since being, drafted by the Hurricanes. He played for Sweden's canceled World Juniors team the year after being drafted, and just has been a solid SHL player since the Hurricanes took a chance on him. He had 16 points in back-to-back seasons. Last year, he kind of exploded for 26 points in 51 games, and this year he's on pace for 29 points. He's on pace for almost 30 points, so that's really solid. The offensive game has obviously taken huge strides, while he's also maintained a pretty solid defensive game as well. I mean, the Swedish, just in general, like the Swedish league, the way that they develop defensemen is you have to be able to play defense. There are very few Swedish players that cannot play defense. And so, very few Swedish defensemen. I mean, we watched Elias Pettersson last night. Let's be real.
I was going to say Erik Karlsson's like the biggest, brightest example of Swedish defenseman.
Like there's some that don't, but like for the most part, the ones that like they develop now, especially like.
Yeah, because Sandin Pellikka can do...
Sandin Pellikka is a great example. I mean, he's got the high-end offense, but he's also a pretty fair defender. Tom Willander.
Yep. I'm trying to think.
Crap, there was another one that was
Theo
playing for Sweden.
Was it Lindstein or Theo Lindstein?
Yeah, Theo Lindstein. Thank you. I'm out of the prospect game.
Oh, but, okay.
Those archetypes of players are obviously very important, and I think having Nystrom in the system next year, hopefully, will be really good for him.
Oh yeah. Well, I wonder what happens there, because no, never mind. This year's a loan, and the contract that he was 2-year.
EP has his contract at 25-26. That's when his ELC ends.
Yeah, and this year he was loaned back to Fargested, I think.
Yes, because he had 1 year remaining on his SHL deal, and there's no agreement between the NHL and the SHL that says the players can break their contract.
Yeah, so you would think he comes to North America next year, but
he does. He will.
That might be another fun thing to do some other time, is just go through all the guys that could come to North America, because there is a hefty sum of them that have contracts expiring at the end of this year. But well, that might be another time, because this is technically almost an hour already. So the last two things we'll talk about today from North America, a lot of Chicago guys. Obviously, the cool part, who is technically not a prospect, but obviously it's very cool to see a guy like him get his NHL debut. That's Juha Jaska, who has been awesome for the Wolves this year. He's been a very big veteran presence on a team, a very young team that's really needed it. And Jaska's he's played every single forward position. He's played up and down the lineup. He's a high energy guy. He's just awesome in all honesty. And you could tell when you watched Wolves games that he was a Rod Brindamore player through and through. And through his, 3 games now, he has shown he is a Rod Brindamore player through and through. And his fit on that fourth line with Blake and Drury has actually been really, really good so far.
Yeah, Jaska's been a seamless transition and fits in along the lines of those veteran forwards that you bring in that, are a testament to how good our pro scouting is, and it's been that way for years. I look back 2019, Saku Manalainen came in, had a decent stint with the Hurricanes, obviously is well known for, being the guy that pissed Alex Ovechkin off in the playoffs that year. And you look at Greg McKegg, you look at they got NHL games out of Brian Gibbons,
Lucas Walmark is another one that sticks in my mind.
well, Lucas Walmark was a draft pick.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, Lucas Walmark was a 2014 draft pick. So that shows the amateur side. Obviously, you're not guaranteed NHL games out of a 4th round pick.
Yeah.
But just another one of those types. Jalen Chatfield. That's the prime example of pro scouting. He wasn't qualified by Vancouver. The guy's career could have been over at that point. Because Vancouver was awful.
He was super underutilized, and then Chicago
and now
the Canes brought him in. But
I hate to say third pairing because the way the Canes roll their defense, it's very different than that.
Yeah,
but he is a premier defenseman.
Yep, he's been awesome. I remember the first time I watched the Wolves when I was first getting into prospects, and I would watch Jalen Chatfield, and I'd go, "Holy, what in the world is this dude doing?" Because he was very chaotic, but he learned the system through Chicago, and at that time it was David Warsofsky, and he learned the system, and now he's a really good NHL defenseman, which is something that is pretty cool.
Yeah. No, Ryan Warsofsky is a great coach, and shout out to what he's doing in San Jose.
Oh, which one's the player and which one's the coach?
David is the player that was briefly coached by Ryan, which was very funny.
Yeah, that team was
But just going to Yaska, seeing him play, we actually got to see his first NHL assist. We were at the game the other night. Just seeing the way that he plays, it's unreal. I mean, he's a perfect fit for that 4th line. I mean, when William Carrier comes back, I think he's going to get sent down. But if there's injuries and it's an NHL season, there's going to be injuries. You now know that you have a guy that can come step up. And what sucks now is he's played so well that. Do you want to risk waiving him? Because there are teams that could benefit from a spark on their 4th line. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. I know we didn't want to dwell too long on that.
No, you're fine.
Thing, but he's playing well.
I didn't know he was waiver eligible. I thought.
He's because it's not a entry level deal.
Oh yeah, So I'm like. What in the world? Why is Puckpedia looking like this right now? Okay, I don't know why I did that. No, he's waiver exempt, buddy. Why is he waiver exempt?
Okay, well maybe that's why they called him up instead.
Yeah, instead of
because they sent him down like a little while ago. Okay, yeah, never mind.
It looks like Juha Jaska, he is exempt because he doesn't have an NHL season under his belt. Or a season under his belt in North America.
Because he was an IFA. You're right. All right.
Sure. Okay. And then lastly, because most people wanted to see a different guy called up because he's had such a really good season in the AHL, but his contract you would have to send through waivers, so that's probably a big reason why. And we talked about it a little bit beforehand, but now he's an AHL All-Star. Ryan Suzuki, in his first full healthy season in the AHL in a very long time. He's only missed 1 game this year. And yeah, Suzuki's awesome. And I'm very, very, very happy to see him get rewarded for his hard work. Yeah, I'm just like anytime I see that, I just get to smile. I'm so happy about it. This is so cool.
I mean, we've talked about Suzuki a ton. I think he's a great player. He's definitely earned this opportunity to represent not only the organization but himself at the AHL All-Star game. And then, I don't know if you've mentioned him already, but Scott Morrow being there in his first season,
that was coming next, but yes,
the AHL is a tough league, man. The AHL is a tough league, especially for a defenseman. And the fact that Morrow has been this good already, I mean, two pro hat tricks already is hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Just because, yes, Morrow's a goal scorer. Like, yes, he has a great shot, but just the way he's scored those hat tricks is very funny to me.
Oh yeah.
I just think, with Morrow being as good as he has been this year, and honestly, I think that had Bradley Nadeau not gone to the World Juniors and stayed playing for Chicago, I think there's a chance that we could be seeing him. We could have been seeing him.
Oh, yeah, I think that's a
The
fair one.
AHL doesn't do like a top prospects game or anything, but like he absolutely would have been there. I would have imagined that Felix would have made a case to be there. So I just think, the future's bright, and Scott Morrow being as good as he has been, I think Goss's Bear might be ready just because they waived Ty Smith today
That did happen,
as we're
yes.
recording this. But man,
Oh, that would have been
imagine
so
Scott
sick.
Morrow making his debut on Eric Stahl jersey retirement day.
Yeah, I probably would have been right here in this seat with my screen pulled as close as I can, just watching the game so intently. But we can wait a little bit longer. But to go a little bit deeper on Morrow, he's tied for defenseman goals with Jacob McDonald, who technically is a forward defenseman hybrid. He's the Travis Hunter of AHL hockey,
Love that.
and and Denton Matejchuk at 9 goals. And Morrow, I mean, 2 pro hat tricks. You cannot make that up. It's kind of like I've seen him rush go to the net a lot more, and it's kind of weird to see a defenseman do it, but his timing with it is really good. And him knowing that Ronan Seeley is normally covering back, who has been a very big help for him defensively this year, is really, really cool. Points wise, Scott is 12th, right behind Ethan Bear, and tied with your favorite defenseman prospect of all time, Prince Pretty, Roland McEwen.
I still have yet to see him and Tyler Breeze in the same room.
Oh, it'll happen one day, eventually. That would be the craziest thing ever.
That would be a very proud moment in my life.
Yeah, Scott Morrow's just been awesome. Going into this year, I wanted to see him just get a lot of playing time in a lot of situations just to make sure he was getting what he needs. And this year has definitely been that. He's getting power play time, he's getting penalty kill time, he's getting good even strength time because he's been their top pairing right-handed guy. Scott Moore has just been awesome. He's on pace for 46 points as of right now. 72 games, 46 points. I don't know where
Solid.
that would rank, but Scott Morrow's he's been excellent. I don't really know how else to put it, and I'm happy to see him make a all-star game in his rookie year. I mean, that's also that's just sick.
Yeah, I mean, he had over 20 minutes the other night. Just looking it up on Instat. Having access to his shift by shifts.
Yeah.
Morrow is playing over 20 minutes a night now. It's not the best way to track it because the AHL again doesn't do ice time, and obviously the video clips, there's a few seconds where the face-off hasn't happened yet, or the goalie has frozen the puck or whatever, but it was about 22-42, so I'm gonna say it's about 21-ish minutes of ice time. Like, that's a lot for a player. I know he's 22 years old, but that's still a lot for a guy that is making his AHL debut this year. Like, that's still a lot of ice time, so that's good to hear.
Oh, 100%. Also, AHL does track ice time. It's just private, and they hoard
Right.
it.
Well, they don't publicly track it, which is the dumbest thing.
Yeah, I'm very glad Alan Walsh made that abundantly known a few times, because that might be the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. That and face-offs, because somebody who wants to track young Felix under Sorum in the face-off circle doesn't have the ability to. And if college can do it, if I can see Lucas Mercuri and Michael Emerson, who's been playing center from time to time, if I can see their face-off stats, but I cannot see Ryan Suzuki or Felix under Sorum or Justin Robida, that's stupid, and I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
But
what
are you going to do about it?
I do like prospects, and that's why we're here. I've enjoyed doing this. Was there anything else we needed to cover this week? I mean, I know there's been a decent amount of stuff.
I'm trying to think.
I think most of it's been covered.
Anytime I went back to the Elite Prospects page and like scrolled really fast to see if there was anything, and I'm like, immediately what I see is my top 5, and then Tarmo Reunanen is still technically counted as in the system.
He's not, and it's so dumb. But like, we qualified him like years ago, and he just never.
I guess the very last thing, because and truly is the last thing. Alexander Rykov. He's back.
Oh yeah,
with,
he's been awesome.
He's back with Tractor, which is awesome because he spent a lot of time with Tractor last year, and he was okay. But again, he was 18 years old, and he had played in over 30 games if you're counting playoffs. But this year, he's after battling injuries and playing with Chelmet for a while in the VHL, he's back up with Tractor. In 7 games, he has 3 assists. I want to say at least 2 of those are primary, which is awesome. And more importantly, that's almost halfway to his point total in 29 games last year. So obviously, there seems to be a nice little step there. And the cool part is all of his point. I mean, he's getting, besides the last 2 games where he has 10 minutes and 12 minutes, every other game, 9 minutes, 7:30, 8:44. He's obviously getting a bigger role because Tractor is starting to trust him more and more, and he's probably getting a lot healthier. Rykov's awesome, and you'll never guess, his contract's up in 24-25.
Yeah, and remember we talked about he had already basically confirmed that he was signing with the Hurricanes when his contract was up.
Yes, he did. Shout out Ryan Henkel who asked, or whoever asked him that, because I remember reading it in a Ryan Henkel article. So
yeah, I remember him saying it in his draft year too. So that's exciting. I'm very happy to see him doing well again. I think he's one of the more underrated guys in the system.
100%. Anytime you have a guy that plays, oh wait, I remember how to check it this time. 42 KHL games before he turns 20 years old is good with me.
Yep.
All right. That is everything. We have covered everything for this week, 2 weeks, month. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So this has been Developing Hurricanes. I'm currently on every social media that I can find. I'm on Canes Prospects on Twitter, Canes Prospects on Blue Sky, Canes Prospects on Instagram, which is Hurricanes Prospects because, as Matt figured out and we figured out together, the guy who has Canes Prospects hasn't posted in 2 years. And I just said I'm not going to ask him for it because it's kind of weird. But yeah, you can do that everywhere. It's been really fun. Alexander Nikishin is really good.
Be prepared.
That sounds like a threat.
Yeah, it is for the NHL.
Oh, yeah. All right. This has been Developing Hurricanes. Thank you all for listening and watching everywhere.